Welcome back to Super Game Brothers, our weekly video game and board game podcast. My name is David, and I'm here with Devin, my younger brother. Devin, how are you today?
I am doing fantastic. Is my mic on?
Your mic is on.
Oh, thank goodness.
Mine is too.
Doing good.
We're good.
Busy bee, though.
Yeah.
Busy with all the things. Holy.
It has been very busy. That is also how I'm feeling. We got home last night from a baseball game, and I fell asleep on the couch. Woke up at like 10. Tried to go to sleep and couldn't. And so I was just working on stuff till like 1. And now I'm just a mess.
Insomnia?
No, I don't know what technically classifies as insomnia. Because usually I fall asleep like super fast. Like 30 seconds kind of fast.
Mm-hmm.
I just could not fall asleep for whatever reason. Maybe just because I had just woken up from a 2-hour nap on the couch, but couldn't turn my brain off. I was just thinking about stuff, and usually that's not a problem. So today seems like it's one of these kind of days.
Oh, shoot. I've also been napping a lot. Ever since I start, I'm trying to start stream at 6 a.m. now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's brutal. I'm getting up at like 5, trying to go to bed at like 9:30.
That's very early.
Yeah, by like 5 o'clock, I don't even know who I am or where I am or what I am. And then I lay down for a second and my body's just like, all right, we're done. I napped for 4 hours the other day. You text me because you wanted to do some extra episodes, and I woke up at almost 10 o'clock. And I was like, oh boy. But the nap threw me off so bad. I was up from 10 until like 2:30. And then woke up at 5 to stream, and I was like, it was nuts.
Yeah, it's crazy how it's probably the same amount of sleep that you normally get, but just having it broken up in like 2 or 3 hour increments totally throws off how you feel.
Oh, goodness, it does. Yes. Mm-hmm. What have you been busy with?
Mostly the same stuff I mentioned last week. We got baseball right now 3 times a week. So my son has 2 games and 1 practice. And then other than that, just some, other house shenanigans, mowing the lawn, cleaning. My wife is wonderful and takes the brunt of that, but try to do as much as I can to help out. And then, just lots of stuff here with our podcast and recording and YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. Just lots of stuff to record and edit and post.
And a full-time job.
Oh yeah, I also do a full-time job. That does, yeah. That takes a little time. So yeah, I don't know, just a lot. I really wish that I had taken like more classes on social media in college. I'm sure I can learn everything I need to from YouTube or LinkedIn Learning or something, but I really don't care for social media. Like in my personal life, I don't post. Like, I don't think I've made a post in probably 3 years. And so, like, I'm not on there often other than I use, like, Twitter as a news feed. Like, I'll just, like, follow companies and people that I care about, like, sports teams or whatever. And I get their updates, like, throughout the day. Like, hey, this basketball game starts at this time. Or, hey, there's a new PlayStation game coming out. Or, so I get, like, that is my news, which is a lot better than live news. Turned that on the other day and man, it was hilarious. Within the first like 3 minutes of the newscast, it was all shock factor. The first story was like 2 dead in train crash, and then 8 dead in a shooting at the mall, and then 14 dead at some other thing. And I was like, man, you just had those back to back to back. That's brutal. Reminds me of that very creepy but pretty good movie with Jake Gyllenhaal, Nightcrawler. You've seen that one?
Multiple times, yes.
Yeah, it's a really good movie, but very creepy. And what I think the slogan that news channel has is, if it bleeds, it leads. And you definitely get that vibe watching live news. Anyways.
I don't know how you remember that slogan. That's impressive.
Who knows? Mind like a steel trap, but only for things that aren't important. You've asked me about coding or what I'm doing at work during the day, and I'm just like, I don't remember. I'm a 5-year-old. But if you ask me about a board game or a dumb quote to a movie that came out 10 years ago, then I probably know it.
Can you remember your anniversary?
Yes. Do you remember that one? Mm-hmm. Wow. Speaking of which, it's coming up. 8 days.
And you just had a birthday.
I did. I just have a birthday. May's a crazy time. Just
Happy
nuts.
birthday.
Thank you. I'm now 21, which is a weird feeling. But no, I'm much older than 21. 34. There's nothing exciting about that number. It's just bigger than it was last year. Yeah, anyways, to kind of close the loop on my tangent there, I wish I knew more about social media, because that is the way you grow things like this, right? Is clips from the podcast or catchy social media stuff, and you hope a few of them kind of blow up and go viral, and then you're getting traffic. But getting that traffic, I don't know a ton about. It's a tricky thing, because I feel like everything we do on our channels is like super high quality. Like our podcast is pretty well thought out, I think, at least. I won't say I'm like the most entertaining person to like listen to in the world, but things we talk about are fun, and we have a lot going on that way, and I feel like our social media posts are fun as well. Just don't know how to get more people to them without like buying ads, which is what TikTok and Google keep prompting me to do. Hey, promote this. Hey, promote this. And I'm like, I'm going to do it for free. Dang it. So anyways, lots of that, just thinking about strategy and stuff as well. Speaking of, anyone out there listening, if you wouldn't mind, please give us a good review on your podcast service of choice, whether that's Apple or Spotify or Castbox, or I think we're on a couple others that I can't remember their names. But that helps us a lot to get pushed out to new people. And also with our social media posts, that would be helpful too. We have 2 accounts. Gaming Top Down is where I do my board game stuff on YouTube. And I also have Instagram and TikTok. And then Super Game Brothers is here where we post this and our video game stuff. So yeah, if you would check those out, that would help us as well. But yeah, so lots going on. Busy times here in the Bailey households. Anything else new going on with you, Devin?
I'm kind of back on the fitness grind a bit. I've been very consistent lately. I don't know. I'd like to kind of dabble back into dating. I don't know. That's a hard one. I do and I don't. You know what I mean? I'm not sure that I'm like financially prepared yet. I'm not even sure I'm mentally fully prepared yet. But I don't know. I kind of want to try that, and I just want to look and feel good about myself. But so I've just been like crushing food. It's insane how much I eat every day. It's almost embarrassing. I got like stomach aches in the morning. I'm like, oh, just trying to put on some pounds. And then I'm lifting right after the stream. I'm just trying to lift. I'm like, oh, I don't know. Just doing that, watching NBA finals. What else? I've been mowing the lawn as well, helping with yard work and napping. I got my car back. We might have talked about that last week. So that was nice. Other than that, I don't think there's too much going on,
Yeah, I don't think so either. It is nice. This weekend is Memorial Day, and we're doing like a family vacation up to Idaho where our grandparents live, and I think that'll be a good break. I need a weekend where I'm not focusing on busy stuff, so that should be good. Last question I wanted to ask you real quick. My household is kind of a Dr. Pepper household. I love Mountain Dew, but Dr. Pepper is they're neck and neck for me. We've had a debate in our house on if this one, the cream soda, Dr. Pepper, is the king, or if the newcomer, the creamy coconut Dr. Pepper, is better. Have you had the creamy coconut one yet, Devin?
I have. Your wife brought one over to Mom.
Ah.
And then our other sibling brought one over to mom, so she had 2 and she gave me one. Cream soda's way better.
Oh, you like the cream soda one better? Okay. I keep going back and forth. I can't decide. I think maybe I should just mix them. That might be a little nuts, but
yeah, it might be good, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite is to get like the fountain soda from the gas station. And when I get my Mountain Dew there, I do a tiny splash of regular Code Red, just so there's a tiny little taste of like actual sugar. And then the rest of it is Mountain Dew Zero. And my wife gets Diet Dr. Pepper with a splash of vanilla and a splash of coconut in it, which is very good. And that might be kind of similar to the cream soda coconut kind of vibe. So it might mesh better than I think. Who knows?
Did mom have a massive fountain drink at your at Calvin's baseball game?
She did. Yeah,
she told me about that. She's like, I got this big Coke Zero, and you know those have a little caffeine. She's like, I drank it at 5 p.m. I was laying up in bed staring at the ceiling. It was 4 a.m. I was like, you have no caffeine tolerance, because I can pound 300 milligrams of caffeine at 7 p.m. and fall asleep by 10.
Yeah.
Which I'm not proud of, but that is.
Yeah, no, that's how I am too. Last night I got a 50-ounce Mountain Dew, and I think they have like almost 50 milligrams of caffeine in 12 ounces. So what is that, 4 times that? So that's about 200.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't feel any different. But then I did just say at open here that I couldn't sleep last night. So maybe that was the thing. I don't know.
Oh, this was yesterday?
It was yesterday.
Uh-oh.
But I get them often, though, and I usually can fall asleep. I think it was maybe that paired with the 2-hour nap and thinking about SEO and keywords and websites and social media, wanting to jump off a freaking cliff.
Yeah, that's the hard part of all this for sure. But
yeah,
I'm blessed.
we're
blessed to have it,
Yeah, we need like a free assistant, like a emphasis on the word free. But someone that like just, I don't know, they wouldn't have to be free forever, I guess, if it really worked out, but understands all of that stuff and can timer posts and edit and crop this. Oh, you've made this 2-hour video? Here's 10 clips of it for social media. There's all these like AI tools nowadays that say like, yeah, upload your videos and we'll make you 30 great clips that you can post on TikTok and Instagram. But they're freaking expensive. And they're like, yeah, on the free plan, you can upload like 5 minutes of video. And I'm like, oh, okay, 5 minutes? What am I going to do with that? Anyways, yeah, I don't know.
5 minutes in total?
Yeah, before you're through the free plan. But I guess, AI is kind of the hot buzzword in recent years. So they know they can charge you. They're like the NFT. But I think AI will be around. NFTs, I don't think will be.
Have you seen the videos of AI recently? How smart it's getting? How it can just have a full-blown conversation with you?
Yeah, I think OpenAI showed off their GPT-4 model. I think is
yeah,
what
they
it was.
said, what was the movie with Joaquin Phoenix? Her? They said Her's coming to life. It's here. People are going to be falling in love with AI. I was like, oh boy.
I guess that was kind of a controversy because I don't remember the dude's name. He's one of the founders of OpenAI. I guess he reached out to Scarlett Johansson and asked if they could use her voice for the voice for ChatGPT-4. And I don't know why she said no, but it might have been scheduling or something, but she said no. But then they released this new version with this woman's voice, and I guess everyone online has been saying it sounds a lot like Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, really?
And the CEO posted like a tweet that just said her. And so it seems like he was even leaning into it, that like, okay, you didn't agree to this, we're just gonna steal your voice anyways. And so I think she had to like sue them or something. I need to like read more up on it, but I think that was happening recently. That's kind of the thing with AI, right? It can steal your voice, steal whatever it wants. in the name of technological progress. So,
And in the name of justice.
or anti-justice, I guess. I would argue that Scarlett Johansson had the justice there. She should be getting a fat paycheck from them if they're going to use her voice. But yeah, I don't know. I think that was a big thing. But yeah, they are crazy. I didn't see all of the show there. Man, so many of these tech companies were showing like very similar things this last week. I think Google had like their Google Summit or whatever they call it. And they also spent a lot of time showing off their AI and like how it works. And so I feel like all of them are pushing that super hard right now. It was cool though to see it like live translate languages and like have a conversation. Hey, open AI chat. Did it have a name? I can't remember. GPT, can you tell my friend a bedtime story? He can't sleep. And it's just like, I don't know, making up a story, and it like adds in pauses and ums where a human would. Which is annoying that humans are that easy to copy. But I guess it wasn't easy. It took us until 2024. But it just seems like we're pretty quickly getting to the point where we're not going to know what things are real and what things are not. It makes me think of those. A couple years ago, there were these videos of Donald Trump. Like they were made with AI. It wasn't really him. But I think he was like in a UFC ring, just like punching the crap out of people. And then like Joe Biden came in and he was punching the crap out of Joe Biden. And I think at that point, everybody was like, wow, these look like really good. And I'm like, yeah, and they're just going to get way better. And so someone could say like, make me a video of Player 4 on Twitch. But he's saying every racial slur in the world. And,
and just get me canceled.
And he's drop kicking a baby.
Yeah, exactly.
And how are we gonna know what's real or not? It's a freaky world.
You're gonna text me. You're like, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that stuff?
Whose baby was that?
That's amazing.
Yeah,
it's not trending amazing. Don't kick babies.
Yeah, save the baby. It'll just be like Harambe, that gorilla. It'll be like free Harambe. Yeah, I don't know. Free the baby.
Free the baby.
Well, yeah, in the world of AI, I don't know what's going to happen. But in the world of this podcast, we're about to get into the news mini nuke. But before we do that, just want to give a quick call out to our Patreon. Please follow us over there for free. We have a free level, and it gets you some extra videos and really helps us, again, to get pushed out to other people on Patreon. And Patreon is really how we survive doing this. So lots of cool perks over there. You can get even more extra videos. You can get our podcast 3 days early, exclusive episodes, have a monthly Q&A with just the two of us. You can write in as many questions as you want, or even get your name in the credits. So check out Patreon, please. That is patreon.com/supergamebrothers. All right, Devin, you know the drill. First off here, we're going to go through the news mini nuke. This is the explosion of kind of short boom, 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 boom things that happened this week. So first up, we got the game announcements and trailers. There were a couple trailers this week. The first one is another trailer for Black Myth Wukong, which has had a few trailers, even some gameplay segments historically, and it's actually looked very impressive. Like the gameplay segments, the animations, like in your monkey character while you're fighting, are like super cool. I think some other cool things about the game are I think it's being developed by a Chinese development team, which is super rare because like the restrictions and the control of the government in China is like so strict. They don't allow like PlayStation Network or free use of the internet and like stuff. So that's a conversation for another day and communism. But Black Myth Wukong, I think looks really cool, and I would love to support, a Chinese developer. Hopefully they're not all members of the Communist Party. But anyways, game is releasing on August 20th. This trailer was mainly a story trailer. Story doesn't make sense to me based on the trailer. But Devin, were you able to watch this trailer? Any thoughts on Black Myth Wukong?
I thought it looked beautiful. I was going to ask you, who is Wukong? What is Wukong? Is that the monkey?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Is he a superhero? It seems like people know about him, but I don't.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that the game is based on some story from Chinese mythology. If I'm looking right here on the Steam page, and I think the story is called Journey to the West. And I don't know a lot about that story or anything, but I think it's like kind of loosely based on that. And you as this monkey-looking character. I don't know if the character's name is Wukong. Scrolling through here, and it doesn't seem to say their name, but yeah, you just have to journey to the west and fight all these crazy monsters and demons on the way.
Yeah, it looked super cool to me. Graphics looked amazing. The lighting looked amazing. From the small clip I watched, crazy boss design or enemy design. It looked a lot like the outrageous minds of From Software.
Yeah, for sure. Yep, I definitely get those vibes as well. There was actually somebody on Twitter. He says that he is a video game leaker that has connections to the team that's making the game. I don't know if that's true or not. Obviously, I don't know this person, but his name is Lunatic Ignis on Twitter. And he released a tweet, I think, shortly after or before the trailer, that said that he has been told that the game is going to include, and he listed a few things. The first one is New Game Plus will be there at launch, which I know is a cool thing. A lot of games get that patched in later, but if that happens after I've already finished the game, I usually never go back. But if it has a cool New Game Plus mode with, like, you know, keep your stats and there's new weapons and you can go for an alternate ending in New Game Plus, I think that's cool. Multiple endings was the next bullet point. These next two sound a little crazy, so I don't know how much I believe this leaker at this point, but according to him, there's over 160 different enemy types in the game and over 80 bosses, which again seems like a huge number. I saw Push Square, a wonderful PlayStation website, was saying in their article where they were talking about this rumor, they said, and even our beloved Bloodborne had like 17 bosses plus like 5 to 7 more, I think, that came in like DLC and some end game stuff, and then you had the Chalice dungeons, and so I think they were around like 30. And so you're thinking, like, do they really have 80 bosses? I don't know, but
it might be kind of like an Elden Ring thing. Like Elden Ring claims, I think online they say they have like 150 bosses, but so many of them are copy paste.
Yeah, you know, especially in like the little
very similar.
Yeah, that Sphinx dog thing was there a lot of times.
That popped up multiple times, multiple giant looking enemies, but they count each one as a boss because technically I guess it is.
Yeah, one shoots fire and the other one shoots lasers out of its eyeball or whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. They're pretty similar. Maybe there's 20 different bosses, but 3 versions of each or something. I don't know. Last bullet point, he said, is the game is trying to be slightly easier than Soulsborne From Software games. So combat looks very much inspired by that. Big boss fights with dodging and, you know, blocking and parrying, but seems like it'll be a little easier if this guy's to be believed. So I think the game looks cool. Comes out August 20th. We'll see how it does. Next one, there's a new trailer for Shadow of the Erd Tree. Speaking of From Software. This was just a story trailer. Yeah, very, very odd, kind of obtuse story trailer, just like all of their story things are. Cool imagery, though. You know, big fires and big bloody floors and walls and buildings. There was even the giant pot-looking marching dudes that kind of reminded me of The Rumbling. For those that know that reference, comment on this video and I'll know that you're cool.
I will not be commenting because I don't know what that is.
Yeah, you need to watch Attack on Titan, Devin.
Oh.
But yeah, anyways, I thought the trailer was cool. I don't want to know anything more about the game. I'm already kind of sold. So, did you have any thoughts about that new trailer, Devin?
It made no sense to me.
Yeah, ditto. Cool looking backdrops and scenes, but no sense. All right, couple more announcements. These two are board game related. So this first one I thought was really cool. There's this company, I think they're based in the eastern part of America. Their name is Button Shy Games. They make little wallet games like this one I'm holding up. I think kind of their shtick is they want to make a really good game with 18 cards. And I have probably 12 of their games. This is one of my favorites. It's called Food Chain Island. And yeah, there's just like 18 cards in here. And then they did also release like an expansion later with 6 more cards or something. So they try to have cool games in a very small footprint, which I think is a cool idea. They just announced a new one, which I think is their biggest one as far as like a intellectual property is concerned, because it is called The Walking Dead Surrounded, and it's based on The Walking Dead in partnership with Skybound, I believe. It is available right now on Button Shy's website, and I think most people will play it solo. A lot of their games are kind of solo first, but it does say 1 to 4 player co-op as well, and the game lasts about 20 minutes. So cool looking one, has cool Walking Dead art. I don't know a ton about the gameplay, but it kind of reminded me of another one of their games called Ancient Monuments, maybe, where you have to like set cards out and manage your resources with a card that you rotate. And anyways, looks pretty cool. Check that out if you like little card games that you can play in 20 minutes. Then the last one is a game I don't think I'll ever play, but I know this was I think a pretty influential game that came out in 1983 called Talisman. And it's had a lot of different editions over the years to kind of remake it. And it's having a 5th edition printed. It should be released August 1st for a price of 47 euros or $60. The Board Game Geek pages had a little bit of different time frames on that one. One said 120 minutes, and then a different edition said 240 minutes. So it seems like it's like a 4-hour game to me, which if you're going to take that much of my time, you better be amazing. Even Root, I don't think takes that long. I think it's 2 to 3 hours. So I don't know if I could get into that, but if you like Talisman, 5th edition coming out this August. All right. Next segment in the mini nuke is usually where we talk about the free games of the week, free to subscription services, but we kind of had them all last week. The PlayStation Network and Game Pass had all of their updates for the mid-month refresh. And so this week there's actually only one, and in weird fashion, again, I do not know what it is. On the Epic Game Store, it just says another mystery game will be available, I think 13 hours from right now when we're recording. Last week's game was Dragon Age Inquisition, so it does seem like these ones that they're labeling mystery game might be kind of more big budget games than some of the indie games they've released in the past. So check that out. By the time you're hearing this, it will be announced. So go to the Epic Game Store, add that to your library, and that's the only free game this week, which is nice. Don't have to worry about too many of those. All right, new games for the week. There's 3 video games that I thought were important. First one is Paper Mario, The 1,000-Year Door. This is a remake of, I think this is the GameCube one. There was a Paper Mario game on the Nintendo 64, but I think The 1,000-Year Door is a GameCube one. I may be mistaken there, but this is basically a remake of that. If you have a Switch, it's one of the only Switch releases this year that we know of. But it's reviewed really well. I think the original did too. So as long as Nintendo didn't mess it up, that makes sense. It has a mighty score of 89 out of 100 on OpenCritic right now. The other big one this week is Xbox's latest big game release. That is Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, the sequel to the first Hellblade. And it's got a strong 82 on OpenCritic. It's also free on Game Pass. I guess maybe I should have mentioned that, but I think I did last week when they went over the new Game Pass games for the month. But check that out if you got Game Pass. I know it's got a pretty good score, 82, like I said. There's been a bit of controversy around this game online. Some people have really loved it. Some people have said that the combat is super weak and didn't like the new segments of the game and that it's very short, like 5 hours. But then other people were like, no, it's not. It took me 12. So I don't know what's going on. I haven't played this game. Maybe make your own opinion after you play it for free on Game Pass. So lots of kerfluffle going on with that one right now. Hopefully everyone will calm down and be nice to each other. The last one is X Defiant. This is Ubisoft's new free-to-play shooter game. They've been talking about it for years, I believe, and it's finally out. It doesn't have any like big reviews out, at least from outlets like IGN and GameSpot don't have any out. I think there were some YouTubers that had their thoughts and reviews out, but also doesn't have a platinum trophy, which is a bummer. I don't know why they would do that. Seems like a dumb thing, but I think it's a free-to-play first-person shooter. Hopefully it's good. Any opinion or thoughts on any of those, Devin?
I've been curious about, I don't know how you pronounce it, Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2.
Yeah.
I haven't looked too much into it, but
very, very pretty game.
Graphics that's what I noticed. The graphics were very, very good. Paper Mario, super nostalgic to me. I remember playing those games. It added new mechanics to Mario that didn't exist before. And then X Defiant is, I don't know. I've seen a little bit of gameplay of it, but I don't know if it looks as good to me as just standard Call of Duty, but maybe it is.
Does it look similar to Call of Duty, like same speed? Like it's not super fast like Apex?
Pretty fast paced.
Okay.
But I don't know the movement mechanics or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, Paper Mario. I liked those a lot as well. I think my favorite, which I know isn't generally the most well-loved one, but I liked the one on the Wii. I forget what it was called. Super Paper Mario, maybe? And the idea there was you could like press a button and rotate the world. So you're like walking with Mario in like his flat version. So you could kind of flip the world back and forth like Fez style kind of. But yeah, some good games this week, especially if you're a play on Xbox or Nintendo. All right, a couple new board games this month. I still trying to find the best way to know which ones are releasing, but I wanted to give a shout out to two. The first one is called Far Away, and it's a cool little card game that's been getting quite a bit of buzz. It seems like a pretty short game. You play, I think, 8 cards in front of you, and you play them in order from left to right, but then at the end of the game, you score them backwards from right to left. And so, yeah, you kind of have to think about the order and the combo-ness of how the order you place them in forwards and backwards, which is kind of cool. The other one is called Courtesans, and I don't know much about this one other than it is Pandasaurus's latest game. I'm really a big fan of their stuff. I feel like they have like really nice production values. Their prices are good. And I mean, you can see behind me right here, we've got Brew, Orichalcum, The Wolves. All 3 of those are Pandasaurus, and there probably is another. They're the publisher I have the most games in my collection from. So I want to check out Courtesans. Really pretty cards, and it looks like a pretty simple card game. But their last simple card game that I got, District Noir, I really, really loved. So I'm hoping that this one can be great too. All right, that is the news mini nuke. I kind of like that little mini news bomb that we have there at the beginning.
Yeah,
kind of gets some of the smaller things out of the way. We can talk about trailers or anything kind of small before we hop into the rest. So cool. I feel like all of the companies in board games and in video games are being a little quiet right now. At least in the video game front, we know that June is a pretty big month usually for presentations. There's been some more rumors that Sony's presentation might be next week alongside their like annual summer state of play sale, which seems to have been leaked a little bit too. So there's that. Xbox's showcases on June 9th. Nintendo's is coming up. So I feel like everyone's being a little quiet, calm before the storm that way. And then same thing for board games. A lot of games are announced at the big conventions. And I know a few of the biggest ones of the year in like September and October. So a little quiet here right before the storm of the summer. where everyone gets ready for those Black Friday sales, you know. All right, well, let's hop into what we've been playing. And in a opposite fashion, we're going to start with board games this week. I've only played 2 games this week. The first one I've been talking about the last few weeks, and I still really love it. It's Sand. I've shown it on the screen many times. It's a pick up and deliver game where you pick up all these boxes of goods and then move around the sand dunes and sell them. Man, it is so great. I've played it 3 or 4 times now, twice solo, and then also a 4-player game, and I think maybe a 2-player game as well. And it is just great. I really, really love it. I'm going to be reviewing it soon on my board game channel, Gaming Top Down, and I think it's going to get a platinum trophy for me, which is games that are a 9 out of 10 or above. So really, really love Sand. It is my favorite in De Beers. Where's this finger over here? Small box line that I've played. I also have Bamboo, which I really like. And I just got another game this week in that line too, because I've been so impressed with Sand. Sand is great. I have 2 playthroughs, both about an hour and a half each, up on my board game channel, and an unboxing. So if you want to see anything about Sand, Gaming Top Down on YouTube is where you can see that. I've already talked about it a bit, so I won't spend too much time there. The other one I played is I played a few matches of Crokinole, which, again, one of my very favorite games of all time. Just really a classic. I played with my neighbor across the street, who I've played with quite a few times, and he's kind of had this mission to get as good or better than me. He just got a table for Christmas, a Crokinole board, I guess. And so he's been practicing, and he did beat me one of the games we played. So it was a good match of positioning and flicking each other's discs across the board. So that was a great time as well. I think like I mentioned, I got the one other DeVere game in the mail this week, and I got another game in the mail this week, and I have 2 more coming in the mail. They probably won't be here till after the holiday, though. So I've got a lot of stuff to play and record and put up on the channel, so I should have a lot more to talk about in board games in the coming weeks. I've also got one that I'm really excited for the 2 of us to play, Devin, on and put up on our Patreon. I think it'll be a really fun one. It's one where we can talk. It's one where we play together, and you can talk between the rounds, but then as soon as the rounds start, you have to stay silent. And I'll tell you what it is when we talk about it later in the news. But yeah, board games, man, they're so fun. So many, hard to keep up with all of them, but always a good time. Any board games for you this week, Devin? Another surprise game of wits and wagers or anything that you're going to surprise me with?
I have no board games coming in the mail.
I'd be surprised if you did.
Yeah, I don't think I have played any board games this week. The closest thing I had to a hands-on game is played a little bit of basketball with our 14-year-old brother, and that man's just crazy, and he destroyed me in a shooting contest about 5 times in a row. So
nice. Yeah, he does play a lot of basketball. I'm guessing you're still playing Clash, though, which kind of counts.
Oh, yes. Every morning. I wake up at 5 so that I have 15 minutes to play Clash Royale and then get out of bed. That's typically
nice.
That's the go-to strategy for me, because you can't just get out of bed and be an adult. You need to get 15 minutes of games in first before eating breakfast. Got
to get that blue light and stare right at that screen right when you wake up.
Well, they trap you because Supercell's like, hey, we're going to give you daily rewards for logging in. And I'm like, well, I don't want to miss out. What if I miss today's daily rewards? Then I'm progressing slower than everyone else.
Right. And you have to finish a certain number of matches to get them?
Correct. It's play your first match of the day, win a match, get 10 trophies from matches, and then you get to roll this new wheel that they added to the game, or this new dice. And sometimes it's way good stuff, so it's kind of exciting. But yeah, other than that, no board games for Big Dev.
That's all right. It happens. All right. For video games for the last week, I've played a few. Devin, I think you've played a couple as well, unless, again, you have any surprises for me. I'll let you start, if that's all right.
Yeah, I would say the only surprise is I dabbled a little bit in Rocket League. The only thing I'll say about that is I'm always surprised that my hands remember how to play that game because it's so complex. We've put a lot of time into that game, and I still destroy people. But I get destroyed as well. I'm not being cocky. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You
I need
win
to
some,
hop
you
back
lose some.
into that because it's been a long time for me, probably a year. And so I think it's going to take my old man hands a little longer to remember all of the the double jumps and the boosting in the air and driving on the ceiling and all those kinds of things. I'm not quite as good as Devin is, but
oh yeah, we'll have to play soon.
I feel like that would be a fun thing to put up on the channel.
I got 2 other games. So I'll start with the one that we've talked about 16 times, which has become one of my favorite games, Fallout 4. We have finished that on stream. Sad day for me. No more 1940s music anymore. And RIP. Fantastic game. We did most of the DLCs. We really dove into Nuka World DLC and Far Harbor DLC. And Nuka World takes the cake by far. The aesthetic of Nuka World lands in like a theme park with a bunch of different parks. And I think we kind of talked about this already, but it's like a soda pop themed park. There's gorillas and zoos and walking alligators and
like roller coasters and stuff too, right?
Yeah. And so that was my favorite DLC. We finished that game. Absolutely goated game. It's tempting me just with how much I liked Fallout to play Fallout 3, like the older ones, which I typically don't do because I hate old game mechanics when they feel really janky. It drives me nuts, but I can appreciate the love and passion for them because you can still make a great story game even if the combat isn't perfect. And so we might dabble there. Last game for me, we stayed on the Bethesda kick because I couldn't get enough. And we started Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Is it Elder Scrolls? It is, right? Elder Scrolls is the franchise.
Elder Scrolls 5. Yep.
Yeah, so number 5, Skyrim. Got dragons and a billion other things. We're about day 6 into that game, and I still have no idea what I'm doing. I kind of do at this point, but we stream these games, and everyone's like, hey, do this. You got to build your guy like this. You got to do this. Try this new magic. This sword is going to be the sword you want for this section. Why are you a vampire when you could be a werewolf? What's happening? Look at him. This guy's a noob, isn't he? I'm like, oh no. There's so much to the game. It almost seems more complex than Fallout. Different aesthetic. I don't like the aesthetic as much, but we did put a mod on the game for a graphical update. And looks good, plays good. Honestly, feels like it's about 60 frames. Beautiful game.
Does the mod in that one make it so you can't earn trophies as well?
Sadly, yeah.
Oof.
I know.
That would kill me. That would kill me.
I really like Skyrim. I don't know that I like it as much as Fallout, but their upgrade system is better. Imagine this, okay? Imagine you're in Fallout and you decide, I'm going to make a build around shotguns. And so I'm going to upgrade shotgun perks and this and that. But they add something else. So every time you shoot a shotgun at an enemy, you're gaining levels that you can upgrade later on in the perk tree. So basically, by using the build that you want to create, you can unlock more things for that. Fallout did not have that. Fallout was just like, get XP, play however you want until the next level up, and then you choose what to level up. Yeah. There weren't rewards for doing specific tasks. For example, if I get hit in Skyrim, my armor upgrades, or it doesn't upgrade, but it gives me access to higher upgrades because I've taken so many hits in the game. And I think that's a super cool upgrade system. So I would say that takes the cake on upgrades, but the aesthetic's not as good to me. Dragons and Viking type thing, like, I think it's cool, but it's not my favorite environment. But beautiful game. We've already beat 2 of the DLCs, Dragonborn and Dawnguard. And I love it. Just another Bethesda game to just get lost in. Super, super weird and janky. Like I said, a lot of random issues. We've had a couple game crashes, death loops. You die and then you respawn in, and the guards are still there slapping you, and so you just keep dying, and you have to load a 10-minute back save. Like, it's just made the game super funny and frustrating. But love Skyrim. Highly recommend.
Yeah, it seems like that one's been fun to watch as well. Just because it is, like you said, kind of silly and weird things happen. A dragon will fly in, or someone will be levitating for no reason. And yeah, we need to start calling you Devin Bethesda or Bethesda. Bethesda. Look at that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Bev is probably better, but
no, just Beth. Beth.
Oh, Beth.
Yeah, you just call me Beth.
Yeah, short for Bethesda. There you go.
Yep. Sponsor me, Bethesda.
All right. Yeah. Bethesda is proud to sponsor their newest streamer, Beth.
Dude, I'd be thrilled. I'd change my name right now.
You hear that, Bethesda? He will legally change his name to Beth.
Oh, 100%. That's kind of dope.
All right. For me, I've been playing a few games this week. The two that I'm just continuing to play in the background are still Balatro, still amazing. I've been thinking, Devin, maybe I should ask you about this. I was going to ask you off air, but now that I've got you here and it's recorded for the world to hear.
Oh, no.
I was thinking I might try doing a Balatro live stream maybe once a week, kind of in the evenings or early afternoons.
On what platform?
Since you've already got the Twitch and TikTok kind of locked down, I thought I might just stream right to YouTube on our Super Game Brothers channel or something. I don't know.
You should just go live on my account. Would it make you nervous?
Oh yeah, you got too many people, and they'd be expecting you, and so I'd just be like, hey. I need to see if my laptop or my Rogue Ally could even handle that kind of nonsense, but maybe it could.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Let me know if you do it. I'll hop in there.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that might be fun. I'm playing it anyways, so I thought it might be fun to just, maybe once a week, just throw an hour stream on the calendar and see if anyone else likes Balatro like I do. Still playing Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Still really far in that game. I'm getting close to the end. That I've kind of spread myself too thin, playing too many games that I really like right now, so I haven't finished any of them, but I'm getting close on that one.
I don't know how you do that. Little fact about Dave, this man can play 30 different games per week and just slowly scale each one up. I'm completely the opposite. I dive in and you almost can't get me off of a game. I'm like, I'm only playing this game forever.
Yeah, I do like variety. If I was going to be a full-time streamer like you, I would have to be a variety streamer. I can't play the same game for too long. I think even in one day, if I was going to stream for 6 hours, I'd probably split that in 2 games. I don't know why, but yeah, I do like to pop around every once in a while. A game like the next one I'm going to talk about kind of grabs me and takes all of my time till I finish it, but I definitely like popping around. Especially, I like to kind of pair okay, I've got the big game I'm working on that's going to take me 60 hours. And then I also have the small game on the side that's only 8 hours or whatever. And then after I finish it, I swap in a new small game so I can kind of hop back and forth between a couple. So I don't know. Kind of crazy that way. Still playing Animal Well, which I think is my favorite game of the year. It's amazing. I don't want to say really anything about it, except for when you, just as a funny thing, when you see the kangaroo, make sure you listen, because he makes the most ridiculous noise I've ever heard, which I think is hilarious. But yeah, Animal Well is great. Just continues to be so surprising and just fun. I mean, you're unlocking new weird power-ups that you're just like, what is this yo-yo going to do for me? Or this slinky? And what the heck could they possibly do with a frisbee? The weirdest power-ups ever. But man, the puzzles that they come up with with those weird items are so fun. And I keep saying they, which I shouldn't, because it was developed by one human. I think his name's Billy Batro or something like that. So big shout out to him. Animal Well is amazing. I think I've recorded 7 hours of the game, and I don't know how far I am because I don't know exactly how long it's going to take. Well, I won't say anything. Yeah, Animal Well is amazing.
I'm going to ask you
play
one question about the game.
Okay.
Actually, it's a 2-part question. Is the game difficult? Secondly, is it more difficult in the sense of combat or puzzles? Or does it even have combat?
It doesn't have combat in the way that like I'm not swinging a sword or like blocking. You do have a health bar, and there are some enemies like the aforementioned kangaroo and some other things that will try to hurt you.
Okay, so it's more puzzle based.
Oh yeah, okay. Way more puzzle based. So it's not, and I would even say that I think the difficulty in this game is just about perfect. I have never had a time where I was super stuck on a puzzle. I usually see the room and I'm like, and know what I need to do, but not even really. There are some times when you're like, wow, how does it expect me to get up there? And you think for a minute and like, oh, if I do this with this item and this with that item, I think that will work. And so you have a lot of those aha moments, but the aha moments aren't too tricky to get to. So it makes you feel smart and it doesn't make you feel dumb, which I think is a good balance for a puzzle game. So yeah, not a lot of combat, but mainly, using items to defeat enemies and running away if there's nothing else to do. Super great. Man, I love it. I think it's amazing. The other game I'm playing is one I played, but I looked at my trophies and it has been over 5 years since I last played it. The very last trophy I had for one of the last bosses I beat was over 5 years ago. And that is Sekiro Shadows Die Twice.
Ooh, fantastic game.
Yeah, there are a few bosses I've never beaten, and I only got one of the endings. I think there are maybe 3 or 4. And so I thought, hey, I think it's about time. It also got a patch a couple years ago, so it runs at 60 frames if you're playing on a PS4 Pro or a PS5. So with all of those things kind of coming together, I was like, yeah, I want to play this. And so, yeah, I played the first hour and a half of that game, and it's still great. I think with the 60 frames, it makes the combat a little easier, because that game is probably the most demanding, because you have to be, the From Software games, because you have to be perfect with the parries.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other way to play the game. Like in Dark Souls and like Demon Souls, you can focus a build. I'm going to focus this build on being a tank that can take a lot of damage and have really high health, or really focus on like a different weapon or something. In Sekiro, I don't even think you can get a different weapon. You can have those other attachments on your arm, like the ninja stars and stuff. But
I found one way to slightly cheese that game. Slightly.
Oh, really?
But it's very time consuming. So what is the mechanic that they use in that game? Is it posture?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can break a boss's posture and then get like crazy amounts of damage on him, or do like this animated stab, and then he's
a death blow.
Yeah, death blow, and then he's on his second of 5 phases,
Mm-hmm.
For example, there's a massive ape in that game, and I could not get his patterns down to parry him to be able to break his posture, so I truly ran around the arena for like 40 minutes and would just get close to him occasionally while doing like figure eights, and just hit him once, and it was just taking like 5% of his health off. And then I'd run, hit him again until he fell down. And I rinsed and repeated that to beat that boss.
Funny. Man, I'm surprised that worked, because most of the enemies that I'm seeing, their posture bar regenerates, which really like incentivizes you to fight up close and in their face and really focus on the parrying.
So I ignored the entire idea of the posture bar.
You were just doing the health?
I was just doing the health, and it's so little.
Yeah.
So it took so long.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that's interesting. I've never tried that. Your character is insanely fast in this
Yes.
game. It is so much faster. I almost have a hard time sometimes controlling the camera because he moves so stinking fast. But I like how different it is from all of the other From games. Super cool.
Same.
The parry system is awesome. Can be super brutal. I think it's one of their hardest games. And I actually heard someone once say it's probably more like Guitar Hero than it is like the other From games, which I don't really agree. I think it is a From game in pretty tried and true fashion, but I understand what they mean with the parry timing and those, when that red circle pops up, if you can be perfect with your timing, and you can really crush the other enemies. So Sekiro's great. Good time to play it, I think. We're here a few weeks before Elden Ring, and I should probably be playing that, but I don't know. I felt like I wanted to start here. If I can beat Sekiro, then then there may be hope for me to finish Elden Ring, because I definitely hit a wall there. And just a little plug, that episode of me, it's called Super Game Brothers Advance, Episode 7, Sekiro David Dies Twice. Look at me, I just spit off the whole title. And I even put my face on the character's face. It looks really hideous. That episode is exclusive on Patreon. So join us over there if you want to watch me die in Sekiro. I've even been thinking it would be a fun thing. I think we should start doing this, Devin. I'm just asking you all these questions about our strategy with our videos live on the air. So anyone else can comment too, I guess. But I think we should do some where both of us are in the playthrough. One of us could just be playing and the other person's just kind of there for moral support and talking. So maybe I'll pull you in and you can watch me get destroyed in Sekiro for an hour. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, and we can do co-op Elden Ring at some point too.
Yeah, I think that would be great too. Again, probably the only way I'll finish that game. All right. Well, that's all the video games I've been playing. Lots of stuff. Lots of good games. Everybody, if you have a PlayStation, if you have PlayStation Plus Extra, freaking download Animal Well. It's free. And even if you don't like puzzle games, I really think it will surprise you. It is so cool. Just so good. It'll make you feel smart. And the pixel art is like so neon and fun. Yeah, it's great. Animal Well, super. That's my recommendation for the week. All right. Now we are into the news. Let's start with board game news this week. Again, we're just kind of switching it up. There's only a couple things for board games. I already went over the game announcements in the, what do I call that segment? The news mini nuke. And so there's just a couple things I wanted to cover. The first one is Board Game Geek has an annual kind of award show. I don't even know if show is the right word. They call it the Golden Geek Awards. And basically the users on Board Game Geek can vote for games that they think would or should win different categories, similar to something like the Oscars, but instead of for movies, it's for board games. But this is voted for by the general user base, whereas like the Oscars is voted for, I think, by an academy of like some board of movie people. I don't know.
Interesting.
They always say in their speeches, I'd like to thank the Academy, and I don't really know what that means, but there must be some like 50 people on some Academy board that are like, yeah, we're the ones who vote. I don't know. So this is voted for by the usership of Board Game Geek, and I thought they were some fun categories, so I thought we'd go through them real quick. There are, wow, looks like maybe 18 categories. So I'll go through these pretty quick. But a couple of the games that kept winning are games that I just got this week as a slight spoiler. And so I'm excited to play them. And it was just kind of reconfirmed by this list of winners. So first one up was the 2-player game of the year. And the winner for that one was Sky Team, which is one of the two. This is one of the two I got this week. It was my birthday, like was mentioned, so I got some birthday money and bought some games. And Sky Team is one I've had my eyes on for a long time. You basically play as pilot and co-pilot on this airplane, and you have to try and land the airplane but when each round starts, you can't talk. So we're definitely going to play that one together as like an advanced episode. It's gotten a lot of love in the last year. That one won. The runners-up were Star Wars, the deck building game, which I also have behind me. That would be a fun one to play as well. And Undaunted, Battle of Britain. I know the Undaunted series is really popular. I don't have one of them, so I haven't played one, but I would like to. Next one was for artwork. And yeah, all three of these games have very pretty artwork. The winner was the special edition of the Castles of Burgundy. That's like a 20-year-old game, but it had a new special edition come out this year. And the two runners-up were Earth, which I also have very pretty artwork. Devin, you've actually played Earth. It was quite a while ago.
I have no memory of this.
You put these cards in front of you that are different plants, and then you put little like tree tokens on top of them to show the growth of your plants. Anyway, so there's lots of like nature artwork in that game. It's very pretty. And the last one is a new sci-fi game that came out last year from Mind Clash Games. They make very big and complex games called Voidfall, and it does have very pretty sci-fi art. So those were those ones. Cooperative game was the next category. And the winner for cooperative game of the year was Sky Team. See, Gibbs winning all the things. Yep. And the two runners up, I don't usually love cooperative games, but I know there are some circumstances where I do, so I'm excited again for Sky Team. Runners up were Earthborn Rangers, which has also gotten a lot of buzz, and Sleeping Gods Distant Skies. Basically every game on these lists is going to be uber popular. So I'm going to not say after every single one that it's gotten a lot of buzz, or I will say that after every single one. Expansion of the year is Ark Nova, Marine Worlds, and the two runners-up were Lost Ruins of Arnak, The Missing Expedition. I have Ark Nova and Lost Ruins of Arnak behind me. Oh, you can see Arnak right here. Boop. And the other runner-up was Cascadia Landmarks. For Innovative Game of the Year, the winner was Hegemony, Lead Your Class to Victory. That's a big, extremely complicated game kind of about different political parties. I think trying to win like the vote to become the president, I think. It's been very popular this year. You'll hear it a couple more times. But super complicated. And then the runners-up were Sky Team again, and Earthborn Rangers. For the light in board games means simple. Light game of the year, the winner is Thunder Road Vendetta. That's basically like a mix between Mad Max, the board game, and like Fast and Furious, the board game. It's also, a lot of people have loved that one. Runners up are Nar and Faraway. We just talked about Faraway in the new games this month. And Nar has also been a very popular little card game where you play as Vikings. Medium game of the year, Earth won that one. And then the Castle of Burgundy Special Edition. And then the last one in that category was the White Castle. And that's the other game I got this week. Again, in De Beers small box line. And you play trying to be kind of the best clan in Japan. I don't know a lot more about it, but very pretty game, and it was probably De Beers' most popular recent release. All right, a few more categories. The heavy game of the year, Hegemony won that. And the two runners-up were Dune Imperium Uprising, the new kind of 2.0 version of Dune Imperium, and Darwin's Journey. Party game of the year, the winner was That's Not a Hat. And the runners-up were Dixit, Disney Edition, and Nikojima, which I'm surprised that one won because it's really cool. It's a dexterity game where you have to hang these cats on these kind of pieces that make it look like power lines. So it looks really cool, but I didn't think that like gamers who love board games really liked it because it's very much like a Jenga-esque game. You got to hang cats and not topple the thing over. Unless I'm thinking of the wrong game, but I'm pretty sure that's what Nekojima is. The print and play game of the year, the winner was Waypoints. Super awesome game. Runners up were Naturopolis and Fliptown. I have Fliptown and Waypoints, both really great. Solo game of the year, The Legacy of You, and the 2 runners-up were Earth and Earthborn Rangers. Thematic game of the year, Hegemony again, and runners-up were Dune Imperium, Uprising, and Sky Team. War game of the year, Undaunted Battle of Britain was a winner, and the runners-up were Halls of Hegra and The British Way, Counter-Insurgency at the End of Empire. That one I've actually never heard of, but must be great. I don't play war games like Warhammer and those kinds of things. So, best podcast of the year, Devin, is our podcast going to be the winner of the 19th annual Golden Geek Awards?
Oh, guaranteed.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
These 3, the 3 that are here are really great ones. The winner is the One Stop Co-op Shop. Their YouTube channel, and I guess their podcast is mainly about solo gaming and how to play board games solo. The runners-up were Beyond Solitaire and Talk Cardboard. And then the best board game app of the year, the winner was Unmatched Digital Edition. Lots of Unmatched in these categories. And then 2 runners-up, Fleet the Dice Game and Twilight Struggle Red Sea. So I thought that was just kind of a fun thing that they did. And like I mentioned, Sky Team being in there like 4 or 5 times, I was like, oh baby, can't wait to play that one. So fun games going on. All right, last thing in board games this week is Crowdfunding Corner, where I talk about games that are in crowdfunding that I think look interesting and worth maybe thinking about backing. I try not to back too many games because board games are expensive, and when you buy a board game in crowdfunding, you have to pay shipping, which if you wait for them to come to online shops like Miniature Market or Tabletop Merchant or Game Nerds, those are kind of my 3 favorites, or even Amazon, which I try to buy my games from smaller shops than just Amazon, and they generally have better prices, but they have shipping thresholds of, okay, if everything in your order is over $75 or $100, then you get it shipped for free. And so if you wait...
I have a question. Does backing a game mean that you're pre-ordering it?
That's kind of the idea, but technically it's a little different in that it's not even guaranteed that the game will be released, and generally there's no refund.
You're just supporting the idea that they present.
You're supporting, yes, exactly. And so I only back campaigns from like very well established companies that like Dice Throne, for example, is done by Roxley Games, who's done dozens of Kickstarters, and they're usually on time, and they've never like had one fail and not be delivered. So I'm always thoughtful about that too. Make sure it's from a company that you trust and has a good track record. And there are a lot of companies nowadays that do a really solid and good job with their Kickstarters. But yeah, usually if you can wait the extra year for it to come to retail, you won't have to pay shipping. And the downside to that is, well, I guess the other positive, you don't have to pay shipping and you generally will get it for a cheaper price. But the downside is Kickstarter, they generally have a lot of cool perks for backing it early. You might get a free expansion included, or some bonus cards, or your cardboard tokens will be upgraded to wood, which won't be wood in the retail version that comes out later. So you kind of have to weigh all those things in your mind. Do I want the ultra fancy version? Or am I okay waiting a year, paying less, not paying shipping, and just waiting for it to come to Game Nerds or something? Anyways, but these are the 5 that I think look pretty cool this week. First one is called Rebirth, and this is a game by, I don't know, Devin, if you'll remember his name. We talked about it a few weeks ago. But this is The Good Doctor, Dr. Rainer Knizia. He is the German fellow who has a PhD, and he's designed over 700 board games. Very, very famous board game designer. And he makes a lot of small card games. I have a few behind me, like Longboard is one about just putting cards on top of each other to make kind of surfboards. But then he makes bigger games as well, like this one, again, behind me, Babylonia. And another one of his most famous ones is called Through the Desert. This game, Rebirth, looks like it's kind of in that kind of vein, where you are putting pieces on the board, trying to control different areas of the board. Has some really cool pieces. The artwork is very pretty as well. So that one I thought looked really solid. So that's Rebirth. I think technically it's called Rebirth, like limited edition, because this is the fancy edition with nice miniatures and, you know, the Kickstarter perks. But so check that one out, Rebirth. Next one is called Ironwood. It's a 2-player. It's not just a card game, but it's kind of a card game with there's a board as well, and you'll put your own little pieces on it as too. So it's kind of a 2-player dueling skirmish game. You're basically fighting with the other person, and the 2 players play as 2 different factions that play slightly differently. So they're a little asymmetric. Nothing like too crazy like Root, but you are doing different things depending on which faction you play as. Mind Clash, I've only played a couple of their games. The last one that I got from them, I actually kickstarted, and I ended up selling it. I didn't love it. It was called Septima. Very pretty art, and I thought it was like a fun game, but it was very long. I thought it was too long for what it was. But I know a lot of people have liked Septima. So anyways, this game is a lot shorter and kind of smaller than something like Septima was. Mind Clash is a very, very well-known company that does good Kickstarter stuff. Anachrony is probably their most famous game. So check out Ironwood, especially if you like 2-player games, and even more specifically, 2-player games where you're fighting each other. Next one is a little bit more silly, but it's also a 2-player dueling game with quirky cat/robot art. It's called Cosmic Chains. And yeah, I didn't think this looked like the best thing in the world, but I thought it looked like the art looks cute. And the cards look like they kind of have a bottom section of the card that lets you combo with the other cards that you place next to it. And then the top section of the card does something else. And so it's not like overly complicated. Looks like a pretty simple game, but based on the look of the game and the feel I got reading the rules section, it looked like it might be a good time. I also like the price point is pretty low. I think it was $20-25, and the box size is pretty small. It reminds me of Cat in the Box as far as like the box size, and like a small game that also has pretty nice components. And Cat in the Box is incredible. So I don't know, it might be kind of a sleeper hit. We'll see. 2 more. The next one was based on a video game of the same name called Children of Morta. It's an indie game, I think, where you play as like different members of this family and you have to defend the city from monsters or something. And the board game, similar vibe. It's a co-op game, and I think fighting monsters to try to protect the city. The characters play a little differently, and I thought the art in the video game was super cool. The company that published that video game, I think, is called 11-Bit Studios, and I've really liked a lot of their video games. I don't remember for sure, but I think they also published Moonlighter, which is a great kind of indie pixel art game. And the art in that board game is super cool. Really cool components. You can get the upgraded version for like these fancy dice and these nice plastic like resin pieces. It's a little bit on the pricey side, and I don't know like how great the co-op gameplay is. I'm very picky with co-op games, but wanted to give it a shout out because I thought that was cool coming from video game to board game, and at least presentation wise, it looks really solid. All right. And the last one is called How to Save a World. And this one, I guess the world is about to be hit by an asteroid. And we can't decide as a people how we want to protect the Earth from the asteroid. We can either evacuate Earth, build a giant shield around the Earth, or build a giant laser to shoot at the asteroid. And in the game, there's a competitive game. You get to decide which of those 3 initiatives you want to try and push forward. And whichever one ends up being the most used or wins as the initiative that is decided on is the one that gets the most points. So if you contributed the most to the laser, for example, and the laser ends up winning, then you'll get a lot of points for doing that. So it's kind of cool idea, at least, that you have different things you can focus on. Gameplay didn't look very complicated. It looks pretty simple. But I thought it looked pretty solid. I think it's from a Canadian company, and the exchange rate from Canada to America is usually pretty good, so it wasn't a super expensive one either. So take a look at that too. And then real quick, just wanted to give a last shout out. I talked about Crokinole earlier in the episode. It's one of the best 2-player games ever that you can ever play. And Mayday Games is having their Crokinole Kickstarter, where you can get like a really solid board for $99. And they're usually like a few hundred. So at least check it out. My board is from Brown Castle Games, and I think it's amazing. But Mayday, I think, is kind of right at Brown Castle's level, maybe just barely underneath. And that a $99 price point, you can't really beat it. So just wanted to give that a shout out before that Kickstarter ends. All right, Devin, what's your pick of the week out of those 5 games, just based on the feel of me talking about them and how they look?
Children of Morta.
It has a cool vibe, huh?
Yes, I was looking through the pieces. All the pieces look super nice. And those sharp dice, I was going to ask you, looking at those, what kind of dice do you like to roll? A dice with rounded corners or a dice with very sharp corners?
Yeah, that's a good question. I generally don't like it when they're too rounded off because they roll too much.
Yeah.
But it usually is nice to have a little bit of a rounded edge.
Yeah, these look like they hardly do at all.
Yeah, those ones are pretty square, but that's not really a big deal. They'll roll just fine.
Yeah, that game looks sweet. The animation on these cards is insane. Like,
yeah. And that updated version where instead of the cardboard chits, you get all those like plastic tokens as well. Looks really nice. Especially if you like video games and video games with like cool pixel art, kind of indie style. Yeah, I think it's really cool looking one. Good choice. All right. Well, not a ton of news this week. Like I mentioned, I feel like both industries are a little slow and quiet right now, but still tons to play. I've got a big shelf of shames on my PlayStation and behind me in the camera. So lots to catch up on while it's a little bit slower. All right. Well, we are going to end this episode the same way we did last episode. We've both brought a question that we're going to ask the other person. And yeah, we're going to answer them live and see what we think.
Hold up.
I don't remember who's... Go ahead.
We didn't go through the video game news.
No, you're totally right. Okay, we're not going to jump to that yet. I was wondering. I was looking over. I was like, this is only an hour and 15 minutes. That can't be true. All right, forget that last few minutes happened. I'm not going to cut it because that way it's this is the real deal. There's no faking around here.
Nah, fam.
All right, but the video game news before we get into our closing segment. Number 1. So there's been a lot of acquisitions in the video game industry in recent years. Just as a few examples, Sony purchased Housemarque, who makes Returnal, and Bungie, who makes Destiny. And Microsoft has purchased a lot of stuff, including Obsidian, who made Fallout New Vegas, and The Outer Worlds, I think is what that one was called. They also purchased Bethesda and their many teams, and Activision and their many teams. And now, in a much smaller way, it's Nintendo's turn. Yay! They're making an acquisition. They are purchasing Shiver Entertainment, a company based in Miami, Florida, who was part of the Embracer Group until this agreement to purchase. Shiver ported Mortal Kombat 1 and Hogwarts Legacy to the Switch. And it sounds like that's the exact kind of thing that Nintendo wants them for. So the quote they had included with the press release is, quote, "By welcoming Shiver's experienced and accomplished development team, Nintendo aims to secure high-level resources for porting and developing software titles. Going forward, even after it becomes a part of the Nintendo Group, Shiver's focus will remain the same, continuing commissions that port and develop software for multiple platforms, including Nintendo Switch." End quote. So yeah, not a ton to say there, but it does make sense that Nintendo would want a team that can just port stuff to their devices. When they say they're develop and port software for multiple platforms, I imagine that's probably Switch and Switch 2, maybe PC. I doubt it though. I'm guessing any like contracts that they currently have in place like will continue. Like, hey, we had a contract to put this on the Switch and the PlayStation, but going forward, I imagine that Nintendo will have them working on, hey, we want you to port or help port, whatever, Hogwarts Legacy 2 to the Switch. Anyways. So, little acquisition there from Nintendo. They don't make a lot of big moves. They just kind of have their own internal teams in Japan. So, now they have a little one in Florida. They do have a couple other teams in the States. I think Retro Studios is in Texas, I believe. They make I'm trying to remember. I think they made Metroid Prime, and they did all of the recent Donkey Kong Country games. They're really solid, and I think they're working on Metroid Prime 4 currently. But anyways, another small American team for Nintendo. Number 2, last week, Devin, we talked about Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Yes.
Coming, I think it comes out in November. Maybe it was earlier, but this fall sometime. And it has 2 characters, right? There is the one that is a shinobi, kind of the ninja. That was the Japanese woman. And then the other character is Yasuke, and he is a African-American male. According to Ubisoft and lots of reports online, that character Yasuke is actually a real historical figure that was taken from Africa to Japan and had, I guess, a pretty important role in some parts of history. I guess there's been a huge dumb internet backlash. So that trailer where they announced the game has been downvoted. I think it's called a dislike, right? It's a thumbs down on the video a ton. According to Push Square, after 4 days, the trailer had 7 million views and 263,000 likes, which is a lot of likes, but it had 586,000 dislikes.
Wow.
And they did some research, and it looks like most people are just mad that Yasuke is black and that they chose that character instead of, they finally have an Assassin's Creed game set in Japan. Why not have a cool Japanese character? That seems to be the main frustration. I don't mind. I think it's people getting mad about almost nothing.
Oh yeah, I don't even notice those things. I don't know. The game looked cool to me.
Yeah, I thought it looked cool too. I'm at least really glad they had, the female character is Japanese. So they're kind of like doing a little bit of both. So I don't understand exactly what the big backlash is, but that was a hot topic this week. So everyone be nice. No matter what race we are, video games are just meant to be fun. I don't think anyone's trying to hurt you with them. Usually. Do stand your ground though if you need to, but I don't know. I'm rambling. Number 3. There's been a lot of talk recently about Microsoft having Xbox go multi-platform, put their games on the Switch and the Switch 2 and the PlayStation, and they've already released 4 games on PlayStation this year. And just kind of feeding into that, Jez Corden, who we have quoted quite a bit on the show, he said that he has seen kind of a new initiative has been leaked to him called a, quote, mini Xbox guide. And so let me just read you the quote here from his podcast. Quote, I actually have some details on exactly what Xbox on every screen looks like now. And I think what it is that every Xbox game will have a consistent social UI or user interface across all of the games. So like if you're playing Sea of Thieves, for example, on a PlayStation, you'll be able to bring up a mini Xbox guide or something like that. Kind of like Activision Blizzard's Battle.net, sort of. End quote. Not a ton there. I mean, but it seems likely that there will be a kind of a little Xbox banner where even if I'm playing Halo on the Switch in 3 years, I will still sign into my Xbox account and can see my Xbox achievements or whatever, and my Xbox friends, even though I'm playing on a different platform. We've even talked about and seen Sony doing that with PC. They have the PlayStation overlay where you can see your trophies and your friends when you're playing a PC game. So it does seem like just a little bit more proof that they're just going to continue this multi-platform route, though. All right, that was that one. Number 4, and a few just short ones here to wrap up. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. I've been playing it. It's really great. Had a big update this last week that mainly added a couple things. The first one is a boss rush mode. So you can play through all the bosses in the game, and I think it even has a leaderboard, maybe for time to beat the bosses or amount of health you had left. And then it's also adding in a new way to fast travel. There are these specific points on the map that you can fast travel, but they're also going to allow you to fast travel between the walk trees, which are kind of the save points of the game. So now you don't have to go from the save point to the travel location. You can just fast travel from tree to tree, which should make fast traveling around easier. So yeah, not a ton there, but a couple cool things. I think the boss rush mode is a cool idea. It's a really solid Metroidvania if you like that genre. Next up at number 5, Hunt Showdown is a game Devin and I have tried to play a couple times, and it hasn't really grabbed us, but I do like kind of the creepy horror vibe. It's on PC, I think is where it's the biggest, but it did have a PlayStation 4 and Xbox One version, and both of those versions are being sunsetting, being shut down, will no longer be used in August, and they're going to be releasing next gen, I guess it's not next gen, current gen versions, so PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X versions, and if you have the game currently on PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, you'll get the new version for free. So look for those to come out in August. Along with that, current gen version will be, they said, some new user interface designs and a new map. And I think there are only a few maps in that game, so that's kind of a big deal. There will be a new one. It is a cool game, very creepy, and I think being on PlayStation 5 will help it a lot, because it was initially at 30 frames when we were playing, and it was brutally tough to try and aim in first person at that choppy frame rate, trying to shoot that spider boss.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Trying to shoot that fast spider. Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, he's so stinking fast, like just crawling on all the walls, and you're never going to keep up with him. But hopefully 60 frames and being on current gen platforms will help with that. All right, number 6, Multiverses is, I think it's a Warner Brothers game, kind of made in the Super Smash Brothers like kind of vibe. It had a beta last year, and since that beta, I think the beta was over a year ago, they've been working on it and fleshing out kind of the battle pass system, and it finally does launch on the 28th. So that's next week. The 2 new characters they've shown, along with the battle pass and kind of the announcement that they're relaunching and in I think version 1.0, are Jason Voorhees and I forget the Agent Smith from The Matrix, I think is the guy's name. And it's just it's a weird game. It's crazy how with Super Smash Brothers, Nintendo can get away with it. They can put the weirdest characters together, but they seem to make sense in Smash. It doesn't seem weird to see Donkey Kong punching Peach, or, I don't know, Fire Emblem characters, and then there was Solid Snake in that one Smash game for a second. But for some reason, when you see Bugs Bunny getting slashed by Jason Voorhees, it does seem weirder. I don't know why.
Yeah, kind of amazing though.
Yeah, it is kind of funny in that way. I think like Gandalf is in it, Bugs Bunny. And I already said Jason Voorhees. Oh, you did?
Yeah, I played as Wonder Woman, and I don't remember who else.
Funny. How did it feel? Just curious.
I have no memory of this besides knowing that I tried it.
Yeah. Since it was in beta and it was like a year ago, I bet it felt like budget Smash Brothers would be my guess. But hopefully it can be a big hit. I want every game to be successful. People spend a lot of time making it, and I hope a lot of people will love it, but we'll see. I like Warner Brothers stuff generally. I think they do some really cool things, with Lord of the Rings and Dune, and Those are mainly in movies, but they have a lot of good video games too. Those Shadow of Mordor video games are really great. They make good stuff over there, so hopefully this can be one of those good stuff. All right, number 7. New Call of Duty comes out every year and has for what seems like ever. It seems like the release this year, I don't know if this was already public knowledge, but it seems like it's going to be Black Ops 6, which is crazy that it's already up to 6. But Treyarch seems to be teasing that ahead of Xbox's showcase in June. So I was going to ask you, Devin, of the different Call of Duty series, I know it might have been a little bit since you played them, but you were really into Call of Duty for a while. Which was your favorite? Was it Modern Warfare, Black Ops, or I can't remember all the other ones?
Black Ops always felt like different to me. I would say I preferred Modern Warfare 2 and 3. But I think the one that felt almost the best to me was Call of Duty Ghosts.
Really?
Yes. We played a lot of that one, and it just felt smooth. And I think they had an extra game mode called Extinction, where you would fight aliens instead of zombies. It was actually super fun. Yeah,
I remember that one. Did you ever play the campaigns, or were you strictly playing multiplayer?
I think I did, but the only memories I have are shooting online people.
Yeah, okay. Because I think people hated Ghost's campaign.
Oh, really?
I don't think it reviewed very well, but on the multiplayer side, I don't know. You might be right. Maybe people really liked it on that. But Black Ops 6 seems like it's going to be the game this fall. And there was a report, I think this last week, that Microsoft is planning on putting this Call of Duty game into Game Pass when it comes out. So we'll see how that shakes out. It's kind of an interesting scenario, right? You've got the best-selling game of every year, basically. Let's just use round numbers. It's going to sell 20 million copies at $70. What's that? $1.4 billion if they all sold for full price. And so they're probably in a little bit of a pickle. They're like, yeah, we want that money. We want $1.4 billion. But at the same time, they've said all of their games are going to come into Game Pass for free. And so do they break that trend? And if they do break that trend, I imagine like everyone that has Game Pass would be like, why do I have this then if you're not going to put your games in it like you said you would? But it's a lot of money to stand to not make. They'll probably get, a bunch of subscribers for a month or two or whatever, but is it enough people signing up for Game Pass to make up $1.4 billion in those sales? I'm sure those are the questions that Microsoft is struggling with at the moment, but it does seem like they're going to do it. So if you have Game Pass, it might get more expensive, but it should have Call of Duty. All right, number 8. We kind of talked about this before the show, Devin, but it seems like a lot of people are jumping back into Starfield. I'm sure that all of the hype from Fallout has helped that a ton, since it's basically the same, same studio, similar game style, but in space. And it did just get a big patch with a lot of upgrades. I don't know all of them, but I think the main one that people were really looking forward to is 60 frames on Xbox Series X. Are you going to play Starfield, Devin?
I would like to, yes. I also saw another upgrade in that game, and not the one we talked about. So it's almost like a mini map without having to go into a mini map, or a map system without having to, hit the touchpad and scroll through where am I. It was basically like you're just wandering around, and there's a lot of icons that you can hover your cursor over, and the icon will kind of have a picture, so you'll know, oh, this is a food shop, this is a merchant, this is how far it is, and so everything is a lot easier to maneuver, and you actually know where things are in areas, and like the map shows trees and hills, and it's just much more descriptive. I thought that looked cool. And yes, anything that gets a 60 frames per second patch, and if it's made by the makers of Fallout, I need to play it. They just need to put it on PlayStation for me, please.
Yeah. Yeah, please do that. I would like to try it as well. I think another kind of upgrade that people are really jazzed about is it made the camera view when you're having conversations with people, I think, more dynamic or like zoomed in or something, so it looked a bit more cinematic than it did in the past. So yeah, I think people have been enjoying that quite a bit. So check out Starfield if you haven't. If you have Game Pass, I believe you can play it for free. Again, an Xbox game, so it should be in their Game Pass service. All right, last couple are really short and simple ones. First one, Fallout stuff is coming to Fortnite. I think we briefly mentioned that just from a tweet last week. But they did show some power armor suits and stuff. It seems like that's pretty imminent and might be in Fortnite in the next few days. So look out for that if you play Fortnite a lot. And yeah, spend $20 on the power armor. Those skins, they're pricey over there. What is your opinion on Fortnite, Devin?
I actually like Fortnite. It's not my go-to game. I almost never turn it on. But It's a good game. I think it'd be hard to argue against that. I mean, it's still running strong.
Oh, totally.
They're doing huge updates, massive trailers. They have collaborated with so many different studios or franchises, I guess. And I think it's one of the hardest games to like really like go pro in. Such unique mechanics. I think it's a good game, but I never play it. And I don't really desire to play it that much. But it did take some of my money. I get sucked into the skins a little bit. Like if I was playing that right now, I would spend $20 on a Vault whatever number character. And if I could run around as a Pip-Boy, that was what I would choose to do.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think I've kind of got the same opinion on Fortnite. I think it's really impressive and cool what it does. And just the scale, like some of those events that were live that they had where everyone was just in there like watching like the asteroids fall or watching movie trailers or, you know, at the concerts that they hosted. And now they have like 4 other games like Rocket Racing and I think there's the Fortnite music one that I can't remember the name of. That's kind of like Guitar Hero-ish. So it's kind of crazy what that thing has become. And I really like the no build mode, because then it makes it possible for people that are terrible at building like me to actually have fun in the game.
Yeah.
So I always have a good time when I play it. But we talked about this earlier in the show. I'm kind of the variety gamer. I love playing new games. Like, what did this 2-person team make? And wow, that's a cool new idea. And playing Fortnite too much just kind of goes against that, which is, I like. It would be like, there's a bit of comfort in it in like TV. Like I love rewatching like Seinfeld or The Office or Parks and Rec or New Girl or, you know, comedy. For some reason, I'm okay with like rewatching. And even my favorite like drama movies, like Christopher Nolan movies, you know, Interstellar, Inception, I'll rewatch those. But I'm very picky with like what I will rewatch or replay or play for a long period of a time if it feels too samey. So I don't know. I also have the same vibe with Fortnite. Think it's really cool, like it, and have fun whenever I play it. But I can't play it. I don't know. I just can't play it too much.
Yeah.
I don't know why. But for all of you that love Fortnite, check out the Fallout stuff. All right, last couple here. We've got a few movie and TV show bits of news. So I guess a Street Fighter movie was just announced. All they've shown is a trailer. I don't think they've shown, or not a trailer. All they've shown is a screenshot, and it's just the Street Fighter logo on some bricks. There's really nothing. The only thing they have announced is who's directing it, and I didn't know who these people were, but it's Danny and Michael Fipow. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that last name right, but they, I guess, make quite a bit of content on YouTube, and they also directed Talk to Me, the horror movie from a couple years ago, which I think reviewed very well.
That movie was intense, man.
Yeah. That's what I've heard. I haven't seen that one. Can't talk my wife into watching it. She's turning into a scaredy cat with scary movies.
I have an idea for them. They should use their last name as a fighting sound in the game.
Pow!
Pow! You know what I mean?
So it's kind of like Ken. He could be standing there and go Hadouken when he shoots the fireball, and then you could have the other character go Pow back. So there you go. It took me a minute. I couldn't remember what that was. Yeah.
Heck yeah. Let's go.
Anyways, so if you like Street Fighter, it sounds like there's going to be a movie. And I'm guessing it won't be a horror movie, but those two people, brothers, are good at making horror movies, I guess. So we'll see if they can do action movie like that. Okay, next up, there was a new trailer for the Dead Cells series. Dead Cells was a cool kind of Castlevania-inspired game that came out probably 6 or 7 years ago at this point. And it's having a 10-episode run. The episodes are really short, only 7 minutes each. So in total, it's only like 70 minutes. But I really like the art style. I think it's made by a French team and is coming out in France later this year, or I think even next month, maybe June or July. Then it's coming to other locations later this year. So if you want to see that, there is a new trailer for it. I think the artwork looks really fun, kind of fast-paced and funny cartoon vibes. I thought that was cool looking. And then the last thing, I think it was last year when Henry Cavill announced he was going to be leaving the Witcher TV show on Netflix. Netflix has shown the first image of Liam Hemsworth in his Geralt of Rivia.
Oh, I gotta see this.
I know there was kind of a big backlash, like Liam Hemsworth doesn't look anything like the Superman guy. What's his name? I just said his name. Henry Cavill.
Well, Liam would definitely have to put on some weight for this, I feel like. And I'm sure they have their strats of doing so.
Yeah, with bodysuits or whatever. But the picture doesn't look terrible in my opinion. But Henry Cavill's hard to beat. He's a baller. Cool guy. I'm excited to hear your opinion on the.
I'm not seeing a picture. I just see a trailer currently.
What the? Let me see.
Is he in the trailer?
What? Oh yeah, he's like the thumbnail on the trailer. So don't push play on the video.
Oh, I am. I already did. Okay, I just saw him. He turned around like very dramatically.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be fine. I think it'll be fine. People will get over it. They're gonna hate it for a minute, but whatever.
Yeah. I don't hate Liam Hemsworth as an actor. I think he's okay. So as long as he can nail the voice, Henry Cavill really nailed Geralt's voice, in my opinion. I've only seen a couple episodes of the show, but I know people have liked that. All right. Now we are through all of the news, Devin. So now we're going to wrap up the show with our two ending questions. So let's I don't remember who started last week, if it was your question or my question. I think it was mine, actually, about
So you want to start with mine?
The board game pieces. So if you don't mind, let's start with yours.
Okay, my question today is, which gaming franchise would you want to live in if you had to live in it?
This is a tough one. There's a lot of good ones and a lot of scary ones.
Yes.
I'll give one first, maybe, and then we'll just go back and forth. I thought of a couple, and I don't know if I'm going to steal one of yours, but I'm going to start with gotta live in Donkey Kong Country first.
Yo, why didn't I think of that? That's fantastic.
It's like so colorful, and the music is vibing. I just imagine David Wise's soundtracks playing always across the whole island.
Oh, man, you just won this question. That it's done. There's no better answer, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm just living on the island like Mowgli, and then I just hop on a rhino. What's the rhino's name? Rambi, I think. And then a minute later, I hop on the giant spider, throw some webs.
Oh, the spider with the shoes? That's who I'd have.
Yeah, with the sneakers. Yeah, he's cool.
Or the snake, or the frog. Oh, they're all so cool. Mm-hmm. Or the parrot.
And then I feel like I'd be able to find enough of those free life balloons that I wouldn't be in too much danger, even if King K. Rool killed me a couple times. So I don't know. I feel competent enough in that one.
I'll bet it feels good to jump into like an extra life balloon or like an extra life mushroom.
Yeah, if it feels like, if my life currently feels like what having one balloon would feel like,
yeah,
then I would hope that if I grab a green one and it bumps me up to 5, like, whew.
Oh man,
I'm like really feeling good.
That's crazy.
They talk about heroin being like amazing, you know. You just want a green balloon.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm just picturing Jesse Pinkman floating off that bed in Breaking Bad. It was the green balloon.
Does he get possessed in that show?
No, he shoots up some heroin.
Oh, I see. Okay, sorry.
On the bed, and he's so zoned out that he starts floating off the bed in the scene. But it was actually a green Donkey Kong balloon.
Oh, yeah.
Pulling him up. Yeah. Don't do drugs, kids.
Yeah, don't do drugs. Okay, Donkey Kong. Great take. My first one, I have a bunch, but my first one is similar in a way. I put Mario as number one.
Which one?
Oh boy. Super Mario, probably.
Super Mario World?
No. No, Super Mario's too old-fashioned graphics. I think I'd feel claustrophobic. I'm gonna go with Galaxy. Nope. Galaxy might stress me out, actually. I love Galaxy, but I think it stressed me out. I'm gonna go with whatever one you start in that city.
Start in
like an actual like New York street or something.
Oh yeah. In Mario Odyssey.
Yep.
I don't think that's the first world, but I think it's probably the second or third. Yeah, that's a cool one. That's a weird, funky world with all those weird-looking humans and Mario jumping around on.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think it's called New Donk City.
New Donk. Okay, actually, I might change my mind. Maybe Mario 64. It'll just be like half pixelated.
That's a good one.
Just look weird there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. What one would you choose?
I mean, Super Mario World is my favorite, but Galaxy is probably my favorite 3D one. But it would be fun to just like hop around the Super Mario Sunshine Island with that water jetpack and just kind of enjoy a vacation on the island.
Oh yeah, that'd be lovely.
Yeah, lots of good ones in Mario. I'm gonna jump to a board game. I couldn't decide which, but kind of continuing our vibe here with like cute things seeming a little less scary. I'm gonna jump right into Root, and I couldn't decide which faction to be, but I kind of I like the mole people. I don't know if you've played a game with the mole people, Devin, since they're in one of the expansions that I don't think I had when you played that game with me. But they can dig these cool mines underneath the map and then kind of pop up in different places. They're very, very, very nice to use. There's also the lizard cult. Ooh, they're awesome too. There are these big lizards spreading their religion all over the board. Those are probably my two. The otter one is also very cool. That's a fun kind of world with a really happy, like cool art, and then all the animals are trying to kill each other. So I love that vibe when it's like violent and difficult and scary, but it's got cute art. I've talked about that a lot. The contrast of those things. So Root is going to be my first board game pick for that.
Okay. What one do I want to go with on number 2? I mean, if we're staying cutesy, kind of, I mean, I'm going to have to say Pokemon. I don't know which Pokemon. I haven't played all the games. I don't know the games well enough. But, I mean, living in a world of Pokemon would be kind of dope.
It would.
That'd be crazy.
Who's the best starter?
I always chose Bulbasaur, but I think people would make fun of me for that decision.
I always chose Squirtle. I feel like everyone chooses Charmander. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, who do you think everyone chooses?
I thought everyone chose Charmander as well.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I got.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I like all three of those Pokemon. Okay, my next one. We'll go back to video game for a sec. I think it'd be fun to be Nathan Drake in Uncharted. Few reasons. He's got an infinite amount of luck. He cannot die, and can't really be hurt. He gets thrown in jail a few times and does get hurt occasionally, but just I think even Naughty Dog, who made the game, said that when you're playing the action sequences, and you do die and the screen kind of goes red around you, it wasn't meant to be damage as the red. It's meant to be Nathan Drake's luck running out. So eventually, like, your luck does run out and you get hit. But he's kind of the luckiest person ever. He can go treasure hunting like Indiana Jones or the dude from, or Nicolas Cage from National Treasure. Break all kinds of stuff, say a few curse words, and always gets the girl and always gets the treasure. He is not rich though. He never like wins the treasure for the money. So that would be the one downside to being Nathan Drake. But you'd be alive. So I don't know.
I like that. I like that answer. You thought this through deeper than I did. I thought about it just in an aesthetic way. You thought about actually living in the world. Because some of my answers you're not going to agree with. And I'm going to say one right now.
Okay, cool.
I chose BioShock.
Underwater
cool City of Rapture. But there is one rule for me. You can't make me go into the ocean. I know it's underwater. I will not be swimming above it. I will not be seeing above it. Don't make me look at that. But I love the aesthetic. So you're going... I think it's so cool. Even the aesthetic of BioShock Infinite, which kind of changed a bit, is still amazing. You got blimps and like so the cool circus vibe and
that big metal bird creature.
Yeah, I think that's a cool world.
Super cool. I would love that one until the first time I ran into a splicer and it was covered in blood and tried to slash me with like a butcher knife or whatever the heck they're carrying.
I have to look this
Or the
up.
first time I saw a Big Daddy. Yeah, type in splicer, then type in Big Daddy.
Oh, I would rizz up a Big Daddy. I'd have him. He'd be my friend in seconds. Let's see. Oh yeah, I don't like this thing.
Yeah, they're not so cute.
Yeah, weird. Okay. I remember them now.
But it would be cool, see the lighthouse and go down into the underwater world. Like you, I would not want to be there, so I would probably choose Infinite to be up in the clouds, but both very cool. All right, my last one. I love sci-fi and outer space, so I was trying to think of an outer space game. You can see Cryo on my shelf. Really great, kind of cool space theme. I've also got From the Moon up here, which is a cool space theme as well. I chose Pulsar 2849. It's a board game about being out in deep space, and you're trying to travel around these space gates through kind of this solar system that you're flying through, and then you're building these gyrodynes, or these giant spinning rings, like around these planets. And cool vibe. Love sci-fi, and I couldn't decide which sci-fi board game has the coolest sci-fi aesthetic, but I just named 3. So combine all 3 of those together, and we got cool sci-fi.
I love it. I almost chose a space one as well. I almost chose Mass Effect. It just looks cool. You go to a lot of cool places, cool space cities, and but the ones I did pick, I got 2 more. I'll just quickly say them. The one was cool. Zelda. Fun place, cool music.
Which Zelda?
Don't ask me that question. I don't know. Which Zelda would you pick? You probably know them better than me.
I mean, my 3 favorite Zeldas are probably, I would choose one of these 3 just because they're my favorite games. You got Link to the Past. That's the Super Nintendo one that is awesome. Cool pixel art. And then my 2 favorite more modern ones are Tears of the Kingdom, which is super brand new. Very cool. Awesome, just awesome. And then Twilight Princess is my other favorite, actually, which I know some people don't like, but Link turns into a cool wolf.
Yeah,
it's got a big, cool world. I like that one a lot. So
I remember I'd playing
do one
that.
Of those 3.
That was on the Wii, was it not?
It was, yeah, the Wii and the GameCube.
Okay, I just have one more, and I mean, it's kind of just a cop-out answer because I'm obsessed with the game currently, but I've said Fallout because I love the music, and but I also wrote, but it'd be scary and I would probably die. But for a moment, it'd be kind of cool just to go up there and just, if you weren't getting irradiated or whatever the word is, just to experience that and the I don't know. There's a jukebox in a building, and you've got like a bunch of lock picks, and you're like, I'm gonna get the best loot, even though all the loot's garbage. I'm gonna get these pork and beans. I don't know. It kind of sounds terrible, but I love the aesthetic.
I think a big open world game like that would be kind of fun to be in, because then you've got space, and you can just kind of do the same things that you do in the game. Like, okay, I'm gonna really tunnel down, stay away from enemies, find good stuff, level up, so that in 3 weeks I'll be super overpowered and nobody can take me on. So that would feel like a good feeling. Maybe you find a vault that's abandoned as a good place for you to live. Maybe you would have to deal with other people trying to raid the vault later, but you'd have a pretty secure and locked down spot. So you could probably have quite a bit of fun and some crazy adventures.
And imagine having a Pip-Boy that told you all of your current status effects, or whatever the word is, your current health, if you're hungry, your perks, you got radio in there. Oh yeah.
Do you think the Pip-Boy knows everything about you enough that it could tell you when you were going to die? Because that would be scary.
Yes.
Like, oh, we know. Do. Yeah, I do too. It knows so much about, like, hey, you're level 45. Maybe that's how old you are. I don't know. And it knows everything about, like, your heart and your encumbrance and your wisdom and your charisma. That's a lot to know about a person.
It becomes your subconscious.
Yeah, for reals. Cool. Did you have any others, Devin, or was that
That is all I wrote down.
Was that your list?
Yep, that is my
Those
list.
are good ones. All right. My question, I love, like I've mentioned multiple times in the show, I like things that are kind of surprising. I like variety. I like new things. Show me something cool and new that was made by a small team. And I love that kind of stuff. So my question is, what is your favorite game that you have played that you feel no one has heard of? I have 4. I have 2 board games and 2 video games. And so maybe I'll go first.
Yeah, because I only have 3, so you go first.
Okay, perfect. That'll work perfectly. Let me get a sip of my soda, and then I'll grab one. I'm going to start with a board game. This game is called Hex. And I feel like this is one that really nobody owns. I looked on Board Game Geek, and it only has 62 owners, which is like incredibly low for a game on Kickstarter. It's made by a company in Canada, and the company was just, I believe, a husband and wife. And I hope they're still in business. I don't know, but I thought the game was such a cool idea. It comes in this board like this. Also has this top piece that we'll get to in a second. And it plays very similarly to something like Scrabble. And I really like word games, having grown up playing a lot of Scrabble with grandma and Words with Friends. So I kind of have a soft spot in my heart for word games. But this one is quite a bit different because it's also a mix with Othello. I'm not going to make a pretty word here. I'm just going to throw some pieces down so you can see. But when you make a word, you will put all of the letters in your color, either black or red. And then the next player will go and build their own word off of your word. And any letters that they overlap will flip to their color. So let's just say that they played the word Anne right here. They would put an A here, and then they get to flip the N to their color.
It actually looks pretty simple to flip.
It is. They have these little notches in the holes, so they're elevated a bit.
Smart.
And so you can just with your finger press and they lift.
Wow.
So they're very easy to flip, which is nice. And then whoever at the end of the game, after all the pieces are out, whoever has the most letters of their color showing wins. So very simple.
Wow.
There's only a couple more rules. You can't just add an S to a word to flip over the whole word. You have to be more original and thoughtful than that. And there are a couple tiles. You can play with them or without them that are wilds. They're called hex tiles. When you play a word with one of those, you have to roll a d20. And whatever number you roll, some special thing will happen. Like, might be a good thing or might be a bad thing. Like your opponent gets to take 2 of your letters, or you get to flip a couple letters on the board to your color. So they're a little risky to use, but a wild letter obviously is helpful in making words. Hex is great, especially if you like word games. I don't know if you can find it because I don't know if that company is still in business, but it is my favorite word game. I don't own Scrabble anymore, and I just think this one is more fun. And the nice wood board with those little notches so you can flip the pieces over feels really good too. So that's my first one, Hex.
Your answers are so much better than mine. Oh man, my games.
No, they're not.
My games, I feel like a lot of people have heard of, but I did think of some that I've asked friends about, and they're like, "What is that?"
Yeah, no, that's great.
First one I'm gonna say is The Simpsons Hit and Run video game.
Oh yeah, great one, great one.
That game was so fun.
I loved that game.
Oh my gosh, It was so fun to just drive around the Simpsons city in a pink car and go off jumps and run things over. I hardly remember it, but I know that I enjoyed it greatly.
Yeah, I agree. I remember loving that one. It's just basically Crazy Taxi, but put Simpsons characters in it. But I do feel like there were like little story things to solve. Like if you deliver something to Flanders, this might happen, or if you, I don't know, go to Apu's, the gas station or whatever, then something fun might happen. And so all those little references. What's the little boy's name whose dad's the cop? Something more? I can't remember.
I have no idea.
Yeah, just seeing all the little characters was really fun. That was a good one. Good choice, Devin. Love that. I feel like Crazy Taxi got more of the buzz than that one did. So I think there are a lot of people that probably don't know what that was. So your choices are just as valid as mine. So don't stress. I'll do a video game first. When we're talking about these, I'll try to put them up on the podcast screen. So if you're watching on YouTube, you should be able to see them. If you're listening on audio, make sure you Google these later, or you can just come to the YouTube channel if you want to see a picture of the games we're talking about. The first one of my very favorite games of all time, which I've talked about many times, and I'm really hoping the sequel gets announced in the next few weeks, is Hollow Knight. I think it's basically a perfect Metroidvania game. It's amazing. I played another one a couple years later that I thought was almost as good. There's a couple things it doesn't do quite as good. The map is definitely not as good as Hollow Knight's, at least like the map that you see when you press the map button and the map pops up. So the map's not quite as good. It's basically just squares that connect to each other. And the story is a little more like Japanese, but Hollow Knight's story is also like a little vague and hard to find all of the secrets about too. But in almost every other way, I think it's just about as solid. And in a couple ways, like the music, I think is actually almost or maybe better than Hollow Knight's music. This game is called Ender Lilies Quietus of the Nights. Very weird name. I don't even really know what it means. But the crux of this one is you play as a little girl, and you have to go through so many different areas of like a castle and a swamp and like the upper castle, in Metroidvania fashion. And you control the little girl, and she has these, I don't remember if they're rings or something, and you get to, similar to Hollow Knight's charms, you get to select which of these knights you will kind of activate, and they will each be assigned to a button, like square, triangle, and circle are the three that knights I have. And you'll unlock like probably 20 of these knights, maybe 10, I don't know. Some big number, so you get to mix and match them however you want. And when you press an attack button, that knight will like appear out of thin air like a phantom and do the attack. So you're basically you play as this little girl, but when you press attack, it's not the girl doing the attacking, it's these little ghost specters of knights that like pop out of nowhere and do the attacks to kind of protect the little girl. Very unique in that way. And yeah, the animation is awesome. Like I said, the music is super great. And it's just a really great Metroidvania. It has a couple fun endings, really tough bosses. And the mixing and matching of the different knights, however you want, is super cool. Very similar to, or not similar, but similar feeling to mixing and matching the charms in Hollow Knight.
That's what I was going to mention was those charms. I was like, it's kind of cool because you create a build based on where you are in the game.
Yep. Very similar feeling to that. So if you haven't played Ender Lilies, Quietus of the Nights, it's great. I played it on PlayStation. I imagine it's very cheap at this point. Get it on a Steam Deck. That would be a perfect place to play it. It might even be on Switch. I'm not sure. But that was my number 2, my first video game that I feel like very few people have heard of it, but it's really solid. If Hollow Knight's a 10 for me, I'd give that one a 9. I think it's really good.
Okay. My number 2 is Enter the Gungeon. The game is fan-freaking-tastic. I don't even know how to explain it. It's a top-down, what do you call it, a dungeon? How would you just
it's kind
explain
of
that game?
Dungeon crawling roguelite.
Roguelite?
Yeah. Basically, a roguelite is a game where you, if you die, you start back over at the very beginning of a run.
Yeah.
It does have there is like some detail between like a roguelite and a roguelike. So the T and the K kind of, I think a roguelite technically does have some things that permanently upgrade between runs.
Hades.
Like Hades, yep. Or Enter the Gungeon has some where you can unlock shortcuts to lower levels, and you can unlock new weapons that can then be found in the dungeon. So it's kind of a mix between, but not to interrupt. Great game.
That game really is so fun, and it's so random. It's just like randomly generated, isn't it? Or wait.
Yeah, the room placements and weapons are randomly generated, I think, yeah. There's some crazy guns in that game.
The weirdest guns, yeah. Yeah, Enter the Gungeon. If you haven't played it, play it. Fantastic.
Yeah, really good. Really, really great. I love that one. You can play co-op as well. I played with my wife a bit, which is, she actually enjoyed it quite a bit. So it's a super game. If you haven't played that one, again, a perfect game for the Steam Deck or a little portable. All right, next one. My other board game I wanted to bring up is, I've talked about it on the show before. It's called Counterfeiters. And it's a little game that you can play in 45 minutes, maybe an hour. But I feel like nobody talks about it. And it's a really great worker placement game. If you're playing board games with somebody kind of newer to modern board games, I think this is a really good starting point to worker placement. Basically, you play as these different animal factions. There are, you can see them on the cover here. There's hippos, crocodiles, cranes, and deer. I don't know. And you're trying to, don't do this in real life, but you're trying to counterfeit money, and whoever counterfeits the most money by the end of the game wins.
I think that's a seal.
So on every turn, a seal? Oh, I think you're right. Did I say hippo? Yeah, I think that's definitely. It might be a walrus without tusks.
I think it is a walrus.
Tell.
I stared at it for so long. I was like, that ain't a dang hippo.
You're right. It's not a hippo. But in the game, you have these little tokens of your player type, either a walrus or a crocodile, and you place one down somewhere and then do whatever that spot says. That spot might be to get new printing presses to print money, better ink, so that you can print higher quality money, or you might put one on the airport spot so that you can fly some of your money to your offshore account. And it's really cool. The money in this game is paper, like Monopoly. I usually don't like paper money in games because, it's just pretty prone to being squished or ripped or whatever. But in this game, it makes a lot of sense. There's stacks of money in like low, medium, and high quality, and the pictures look better on the higher quality ones. And then you take that money and put it in your offshore account when you use that airport action, and you slip it into this envelope that you get to hide behind your player screen. So nobody really knows how much money you have taken offshore. And then whoever just has the most money at the end of the game wins. Super, super cool. Really like it. You also launder your fake money. So you go to one of the action spots is to go to the grocery store, and like you exchange your bad money for good actual money. So you make sure that you tell your kids about not printing fake money, but it's a very fun worker placement game that I really think you could teach to anybody. It says here on the back of the box 35 minutes. And for your first game, I think it will take a little longer than that, but I do think you can play it in half an hour once you know it. And worker placement is a super popular board game mechanism nowadays, and this is a really good entryway to learn that in kind of a fun game. So Counterfeiters, I think that's one that doesn't get talked about enough.
All right, my last one for games no one's heard of that I loved. This is a very nostalgic, very strange part of my brain that I go to when I think about this game. It is called Pandemonium on the PlayStation 1. It is a
great one.
Platformer with you're like a Joker and this sorceress chick.
Yeah, Gypsy maybe?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever it is, and you can turn into dragons and frogs and I don't remember what else, but I loved that game so much. That's about all I know about it. I hardly remember. I need to play it again.
Yeah, I would love to play it again too. I was just looking it up. I think that it was maybe made by, let's see, I've got it pulled up right here, the Wikipedia. It was a game that features Fargus, who was a Joker, and his stick puppet Sid. And then you play also as a talented acrobat named Nikki. But yeah, kind of a really weird game, but it was made by Crystal Dynamics, who, you know, it makes Tomb Raider nowadays, and they've made other games. I think they're working on like an Avengers. Or not Avengers. They're making some Marvel game, I believe. And they also made Gex. So, I mean, Crystal Dynamics has been around for a long time.
The cutscenes do look a lot like Gex cutscenes did. Yeah,
for sure. Yep, that was one of our very favorite ones. I think when we got our PlayStation 1 that Christmas, I think that was one of the games we had I think it was Crash, Gex, and Pandemonium, if I remember correctly. I was 4 or 5-year-old David, so my memory here 30 years later might not be perfectly sound. But good choice. Okay, my next one is a game that, again, I don't think very many people have heard of. This game gives me Studio Ghibli vibes in that it is animated and kind of hand-drawn. This game is called Forgotten Anne. You play as this girl named Anne, and you have to go through kind of this weird kind of Beauty and the Beast-like world where a lot of the inanimate objects are alive and have been forgotten about, like coat hangers and dressers and telephones and things. And it's kind of a silly kind of Metroidvania puzzle game. There's not like a lot of action or anything, but you go around this world trying to figure out what's going on with these forgotten items and try to make sure that I think you don't yourself get forgotten or something like that at the same time. I really enjoyed this game. It's not perfect. I'd probably give it like a 7.5, 8 out of 10, but I don't play a lot of, kind of visual novel games or games that are like super story heavy and don't really have a huge gameplay hook. But this one was just puzzly enough and had the cool art along with it that it pulled me through. And I had a really good time. Very weird story, similar Spirited Away kind of vibes where something's going to talk to you that doesn't seem like it should, but if you just go with the flow and just say, I'm going to go for this weird ride this game's going to take me on, I really liked this one. This company that made it kickstarted their next game, I think like 6 months ago, and I backed it. So for like $20 or something, I'm going to get a digital copy of their new game when it comes out. I can't remember what it's called, but it stars one of the characters from Forgotten Anne will be the main character of this new game. So I'm excited to play that one too when it comes out. I don't remember when it's supposed to deliver, if it's this fall or next spring or something, but Forgotten Anne, it's a good game. I think you'll like it if you give it a shot. So that was my fourth one. So just a quick recap. In board games, we got Hex. If you like word games, if you like worker placement and want to teach people how to get into hobby board games, I think Counterfeiters is great place to start. And then the two video games I mentioned were Ender Lilies, Quietus of the Nights, similar vibe to Hollow Knight, difficult boss fights, cool Metroidvania game, and then Forgotten Anne if you want a quirky kind of Japanese story with some very pretty artwork. So those were my 4.
You want me to name mine?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I just said Enter the Gungeon, top-down rogue light, Pandemonium. If you want to play an extremely old game and still have a PS1, and Simpsons Hit and Run.
Yep. Super. Those were great ones. Good questions this week. I like those.
Yeah, those questions are fun.
All right. Yeah, I like them too. I'm going to have to spend the weekend when we have off thinking of a good question for next week. But I think those were good. I like talking about games that people haven't heard of because, again, I like playing games that I hadn't heard of, or I love being surprised by something. Like, oh, this is better than I thought it was going to be. I love that feeling. So cool. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for listening. That's going to wrap up our show this week. As we end here, just want to do another quick little shout out. Please check us out on Super Game Brothers YouTube channel. That's where we post all of our video game playthroughs. I'm currently playing through quite a few games on that channel. We got, I think, 10 Prince of Persia playthrough segments up right now with a few more scheduled. I've recorded 7 Animal Well segments. I think 3 are up. Balatro, I've recorded 8 or 9 segments. Just did Sekiro. That one is exclusive to our Patreon. Also check that out, please. Patreon.com/SuperGameBrothers. And make sure you join our giveaway. Our giveaway is totally free. You just have to join our email newsletter, and all we're going to email you is basically like a summary of what videos we had come out that week. So if you want a summary of what we're doing each week and want to be part of our giveaway, this month it's a $25 gift card to either Steam, PlayStation Network, or Amazon. And you can use Amazon if you want a board game, or any of the other ones if you want to get a video game. So we got both bases covered. So check that out. That is at supergamebrothers.com, our little landing page website. And yeah, make sure you check out Devin on Twitch and TikTok. He streams weekdays from about, 5 a.m. Pacific time?
Yes.
somewhere around there. That's stinking early. But it kind of caters to the other time zones of the world too, so people in Europe can participate too. So I think that early starting point is a good one. So check him out over there. He's Player4 on Twitch and Player4 TV on TikTok, I believe. And yeah, without any further ado, I think we'll just get out of here. Devin's got to get to bed so that he can get up for that 5 o'clock
sleepy
Pacific
time for me. Yes, sir.
Stream, but that's going to do it for us today. We will see you on the next one. Bye.